Trust is about safety, not words. She isn't listening to what you say. She's watching how you show up.
Welcome to Reforged, a podcast by the Authentic Masculinity Project, a place where we have raw conversation about modern masculinity, capacity, complexity, integration, and authenticity.
Hey guys, and welcome. My name is Scott Austin Martin, and I am a licensed professional counselor. I am a somatic processing trauma therapist, and I am, more importantly, I think, a proactive relationship transformation coach. So when a woman loses trust in her man, it's not because of one fight. It's because she no longer feels safe in his presence. And here's the mistake that most men make. They start begging, apologizing over and over and trying to prove themselves. And that only makes it worse. Rebuilding trust is not about begging. It's about becoming trustworthy again. So it's not about saying the right thing. It's about what she feels, right? So we have to attune to that. So there's some insights, some core insights I want to share with this. So number one, trust is about safety, not words. She isn't listening to what you say. She's watching how you show up. Broken trust is nervous system deep for her. It won't heal from a speech, but from feeling a certain way consistent. And so when we look at, like dysregulation of, moving from flow, parasympathetic nervous system activity to where when we're dysregulated up into sympathetic nervous system activity, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or moving on up into extreme parasympathetic, which means disassociation, disconnection, numbing, checking out, escaping. When our nervous system is in a particular place, and if we're intellectualizing and we're disconnecting from ourselves, well, then she's going to feel that, or she's going to feel the lack of that, I should say. So if we're not in a state of flow, how can we expect her to be? So the inner work has a lot to do with what's going on inside of us and what we're radiating so that she can feel that. So again, she's not looking for the right thing for us to say. It's not about the words. It's about the felt sense of safety in her nervous system. Insight two, begging equals collapse. And you'll hear me talk about this masculine collapse kind of over and over again. We talk about a flip of polarity where there's an over or an under, and masculine collapse is an under. So the under basically means that we're checking out. Instead of the over would be we're going to force our way. We're going to be toxic, right? The under is we're not showing up. Like we can be in the same room and she can't feel us, right? When men beg or chase, it confirms her nervous system fear. He can't hold me. He can't hold reality. And begging makes her feel responsible for your emotions, which kills attraction and safety. So insight three, rebuilding requires presence and time. And, we see this over and over and over again when, there's been some sort of relationship rupture and suddenly the man is now faced with loss. And unfortunately, this is when most men wake up and now they're motivated, right? Because now it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now they're in a survival mode, which you being in survival mode is not you being in thrive mode, which you have to be in order for you to radiate a place of containment, of safety for her. So rebuilding requires presence plus time. You can't rush back. Show up consistently, grounded tone, aligned actions, honoring boundaries. Do you even know what boundaries actually are? And I got to admit that most of the clients that I work with in couples, they do not know what healthy boundaries are. That's why we're literally working on a book called Soul Boundaries to begin helping people with an inquiry process of, going this, like in these different categories of our life. What are boundaries? And then after we learn what a healthy boundary is, and boundaries are how we love each other, right? After we learn what a healthy boundary is, we then have to learn how to communicate it. And each day when you're in relationship rupture is a deposit back into the trust bank account, right? So like there's a consistency that's needed so that her system begins to trust, wow, he feels safe. He feels safe. And that takes a certain amount of time because you've conditioned her otherwise up until this point. Insight four, the man must self regulate. And this is interesting because I think that that the human psyche is so complex that a lot of times men think regulation means that they are outwardly calm or they are silent when the reality is that is is you just another example of you disappearing or you're stonewalling, right? You can't rebuild trust if you collapse every time she's triggered. Learn to stay steady when she brings up the pain instead of defending and crumbling. I mean, a really good metaphor here, guys, is that you got to be big enough for her storm, right? Like you got to be able to handle what you might think is her crazy. Because if you're not big enough for her storm, if she can't trust you to truly express what everything that she's holding and trying to feel, right? Then she'll go somewhere where she is safe. And often that means, basically away from you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that she's found a place to be safe, but even just away from you is safer than with you. And this is what we want to bring attention to. So I've seen men that will disappear into a cognitive, world of thought about, well, I don't know what to say. Okay, well then stop trying to say the right thing and first self-regulate yourself and ask, have I gone numb or am I dysregulated? Like if I have anxiety about I don't know what to say, well, maybe I need to stop trying to say something and I need to go inward and down regulate myself and find a place of grounded calm in myself before I try to engage with her. Oh well, but you went away to self-regulate yourself. Okay, yeah. So sometimes that's actually necessary, and this is a part of the vocabulary and the language that we're beginning to acquire together as a couple, to where we're beginning to have a code for, wow, I'm in a state of dysregulation. I'm going to go take care of that. And then I'll come back and re-engage in whatever's going on here, right? Like that should be a normal part of our conversation, to where we give the other individual a choice of, do they want to help us self-regulate? Sometimes they don't. Or do we need to go basically take care of it ourselves? What does take care of it ourselves mean? There's so many different somatic processing modalities now, between tapping or, self EMDR, bilateral stimulation, different aspects of breathing, different variations of breath work as well, to where we can use breath to actually regulate what's going on, not necessarily just in a coping mechanism or a distraction, but a processing mechanism where we can be with whatever that original wound is, and bring enough presence to it that we can go, instead of just being in a cognitive story of it, we can go down into our gut and we can decide if that wound is still serving, or the defense mechanisms that we're using are still serving us. We can be with the wound in such a way that we can begin becoming aware of it, acknowledging and accepting it to a degree that we can dissolve the way we keep reacting to it, because the defense mechanisms we keep bringing on board are absolutely blocking us from connecting and growing the way that we want to. Okay, so you can't rebuild trust if you collapse every time she's triggered. We have to learn how to stay steady. And there, the 4 pillars we've talked about in another video, get to know what the inner work actually means. And just a reminder, the AMP framework is path, presence, process, strategy. Identify where your wounds or betrayals come from. Stop blaming her. Presence. Practice holding reality even when she doesn't trust you without collapsing. So practice being present even when you don't have to be, because if you don't pack the parachute of presence, we can talk about anything, right? If you want to be good at playing guitar, what do? You practice it. If you want to be good at playing tennis and have that amazing muscle memory backhand, what do? You practice it. If you want to be present, truly present for you and for her, instead of lost in a story victimhood of suffering, right? Then what do? You have to practice presence. So there are programs, MBSR, different forms of meditation, different processes that you can do that will increase your ability to be present with what is, as opposed to escaping into cognitive fantasy or physically escaping, whether that's into a substance or whether that's disappearing or any combination of all the above. Process. Use somatic tools, somatic of the body, being present with the body. The body is keeping score. If you can dissolve the way the body is holding the charge of that story of suffering, guess what? We don't call that suffering anymore. because there's no charge. With no charge, there's no more trauma, right? Doesn't mean you did not go through a trauma. I'm talking about there's no dysregulation in the body because of the trauma. Remember, trauma is not what we went through. Trauma is what happened inside of us because of what we went through. Okay, so what happened to us is that we developed a defense mechanism that may be operating on multiple different levels in different parts of our autonomic nervous system and different parts of even how we hold reality. And we have to be able to get curious in order to go in there and be with it in such a way that we move down into our spine and our gut and we make a decision whether or not this defensive mechanism is actually still serving us. And sometimes we've got to be with that with 40 different ways of asking, breath, movement, touch, the concept of energy, the concept of using sound to resonate with a felt sense of what's actually going on within our different parts as well. The fourth pillar is strategy. Commit to actions that align with integrity daily. Accountability, honesty, and consistency. So boundaries are a big part of strategy. And boundaries are not just about the toxicity we want to keep out. They're also about the things that we absolutely do want to receive within, for example, relationship or with ourselves. And a part of that is understanding what that is without thinking that to ask and request for certain things is not an ultimatum, right? But to actually sit with your soul and to be worthy enough inside yourself to say, this is how my soul likes its eggs. These are the things that I actually want in this one wild, glorious life. And if you're in a relationship with somebody that can't fulfill your boundaries, well, then misery is the alarm bell that's telling you that, going, yes, there is something else that could be here. And unfortunately, relationship transformation does not always mean transforming this relationship by staying in it. Sometimes it means transforming this relationship because you recognize that this individual keeps crossing or not meeting your boundaries, right? So for women, often it's not their job to fix you. It's their job to learn how to communicate with you for you to either rise to meet where she's actually at in her sovereignty, or for you to prove that you never could. And we don't want to get there. We want to show you how you can. And a lot of that means you've got to do the inner work. Inner work will get you back, give you the best opportunity and chance at restructuring and repairing relationship rupture. If you're in a place where your woman doesn't trust you anymore, you don't have to figure it all out alone. There are groups of men. Get into some activity where it's really healthy to have about 10 men friends that tell you when you're full of shit. Inside Reforged, this podcast right here, we're going to go over these things so that you can learn things and you can get more curious and ask more questions about how it works for you. We've got men's inner work groups. We work through betrayal, collapse, and rebuilding presence. If you're ready to stop begging and start becoming the man who can be trusted again, join us. The link should be somewhere in the notes. There's also a digital course, the Rite of Passage, Doing the Inner Work, which again is a little bit more in depth about these 4 pillars. And we've got the Dopamine Reset, hardcore challenge. The Dopamine Reset is 28-day dopamine reset, which is a part of regaining resources within your neural system in such a way that you have the motivation to be present in the ways that you need to be. So I can give you strategy, and this is what a lot of unfortunately coaches are doing out there, is they're showing men how to manipulate, right? That is not authentic masculinity, guys. That is, you're trying to fake it. You're doing performance, right? Not masculine performance. We want authentic masculinity. And when you can shift the way that you are showing up for you, and you can create a container that you're not leaking anymore, that's when you can then create a container of safety for her. And that's what it's all about. So stick around, check out the different tools and resources that we have, or at least hear about the concepts of what it is that you need to do and go find that in your life also. Okay, guys, we will see you in the next video. Take care. Thank you for listening to Reforged. Remember to like and subscribe for more.